Judgmental gazes from two officers approaching him. Something about their stare felt off. And then, in the blink of an eye, everything shifted. He didn't just get away, he changed the game. What happened next left them frozen, unable to react. But let's rewind to the start. On a crisp Saturday afternoon in Los Angeles, Detective John Anderson and his partner Sarah Mitchell cruised down Sunset Boulevard. The streets were alive with the buzz of weekend traffic, and the afternoon sun gleamed off the sleek glass facades of the city's high-rises. Just another regular day in LA. Until something grabbed Anderson's attention. A black Lamborghini zipped past, cutting through the traffic with a confidence that turned heads. Anderson's focus sharpened as he took in the driver, a young black man, probably in his mid-20s, dressed in a sharp suit. The car screamed success, but Anderson saw more than wealth. He saw a challenge, a break from the ordinary, something that didn't meet his expectations. Anderson's instincts kicked in. He looked at Sarah, and a silent agreement passed between them. "We're pulling him over," he said, his voice firm yet calm. The Lamborghini eased to the curb in a smooth, almost rehearsed motion. The driver, Marcus Daniels, rolled down his window, offering a smile that seemed more practiced than genuine. "Afternoon, officer," he greeted, his tone polite, but the quiet confidence in his voice was undeniable. He wasn't rattled. Anderson approached the window slowly, his hand brushing the holster instinctively. "You know why I stopped you?" Anderson asked, his eyes scanning for any hint of nervousness.
"No, officer."
"Was I speeding?" Marcus responded, confusion masking the tension in the air. He was calm, too calm. "We've had complaints about cars like yours weaving through traffic. Mind if I take a look at your license and registration?" Anderson asked. Marcus didn't hesitate, handing them over with practiced ease, but Anderson wasn't satisfied. The Lamborghini's price alone raised a red flag. "You're driving a car worth more than most people make in a year. How does someone like you afford it?" His question hung heavily in the air, sharp and pointed. Something didn't sit right with Anderson. He didn't know it yet, but he was about to get dragged into something much deeper than a routine traffic stop. The question weighed down the moment, thick with suspicion. Marcus's eyes narrowed briefly, a flash of defensiveness behind his calm exterior. But his voice remained steady, betraying no panic. "I work hard for my money, officer," he replied, the words flowing effortlessly, though a subtle edge to them lingered. Anderson raised an eyebrow, his gaze hardening. "You really expect me to believe a young guy like you can afford a car like this?" A moment of uncomfortable silence stretched between them. Sarah, standing off to the side, sensed the tension. She took a small step forward, trying to ease the situation. "John, maybe we should." But Anderson cut her off, his voice icy. "Step back, Sarah." His eyes never left Marcus. The challenge was clear. This guy's hiding something. Let's see if his story checks out. Marcus could feel his pulse quickening. This wasn't just another traffic stop. He knew it. He could feel the judgment radiating from Anderson like a heavy weight. It wasn't about the car or the speed. It was the assumption that someone like him didn't belong here, didn't deserve success. He'd seen it before. He'd felt it countless times. People underestimated him. They saw the color of his skin, his age, and made assumptions about what he could and couldn't do. But not today. He wasn't going to let it slide.
Not now.
Not ever. He stood a little taller, his voice firm, tinged with the faintest hint of anger. "I'm not hiding anything, officer. I've worked my ass off for everything I have. Maybe you should stop assuming things." He saw Anderson's jaw tighten in response, but Marcus wasn't backing down. The tension thickened in the air. Anderson raised his hand, signaling Sarah to call for backup. As she radioed for support, Marcus felt the weight of the moment shift inside him. He wasn't just a young man in a fancy car anymore. He was being judged unfairly, and it was eating away at him. The frustration he'd kept bottled up was beginning to boil over. And with it came sharp clarity. "I've had enough," Marcus muttered under his breath, his fingers instinctively reaching for the button on the console. The adrenaline surged through him as he pressed it. Instantly, the Lamborghini's engine roared to life, its deep growl filling the air. Without hesitation, the car shot forward, tires screeching as it tore through the streets, narrowly missing the police car behind him. The engine's noise echoed down Sunset Boulevard, a stark contrast to the silence between Marcus and Anderson. Marcus swerved, cutting through traffic with precision, leaving the police car far behind. Anderson's eyes widened in disbelief as the Lamborghini tore through the lanes, its driver a blur of defiance. The siren wailed behind him, loud and urgent, but Marcus didn't flinch. He wasn't slowing down. Every move was calculated, his mind working faster than the car's engine could roar. The streets became a maze, but Marcus navigated them with ease, his hands steady on the wheel. He could hear the siren growing louder, the pressure mounting, but none of that mattered. He wasn't just running from the police. He was running from everything that tried to box him in, from every stereotype. The chase was only just beginning, and Marcus wasn't stopping now. Less than a minute later, Marcus slammed on the brakes in front of an alley. He pulled over and stepped out of the car, facing the officers as they skidded to a halt behind him. Anderson was furious, his face flushed with anger, but Marcus wasn't backing down. His voice was suddenly calm, but heavy with authority. "Are you really going to do this? Do you even know who I am?" The officers stared, unsure of how to proceed. "I'm Marcus Daniels, CEO of Daniels Enterprises. My company is one of the biggest real estate firms in this city. I've donated more to the local community than you've probably made in your entire career. You want to arrest me because you think I'm just some thug in a fancy car?" He stepped closer, his voice shaking with controlled fury. "You owe me an apology."
Right now.
The officers exchanged looks, realizing the gravity of the situation. "I'm sorry," Anderson finally muttered, his voice low but sincere. "Yeah, you should be," Marcus replied, his voice softening. "Next time, think before you judge." With one last glance, Marcus got back into his car, started the engine, and drove away. The two officers stood there, utterly humiliated, as the Lamborghini disappeared into the distance. Sarah turned to Anderson. "Man, you really messed up there," she said quietly. Anderson didn't answer. He just stared at the pavement, knowing he'd made a mistake he'd never forget.